Hello and good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on where you are in the world. Welcome to yet another session of Inspiring Conversations. And boy, oh boy, do we have a treat for you today. I hope you will get inspired because this story, my guest has a story that is so bonkers that I have been waiting for this conversation for a long time. So I hope you will also enjoy it. Welcome to my stream live from Iceland on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. And let's remind ourselves why I am doing this, because it's all about creating conversations that really matter. We are diving into ways to connect deeply, break down barriers, and build moments that inspire trust and growth. Whether it's with your team at work or in your everyday chats, we will bring more positivity, realness, and impact into every conversation. And as mentioned, I am in Iceland, and this is the my section of the town because we have I think 40,000 people living in my town of Kópavogur, and I'm living at the ocean. So enough about that. Oh, don't forget to find inspiring conversations on YouTube, Spotify, LinkedIn, and Facebook. And if you can't remember whatever, like hands-on coaching on inspiring conversation, just use Dr. Google or Mr. Bing. Although I don't think anybody uses Mr. Bing. But that said, I have to introduce my friend, or he will be my friend. But we are still, I think we have already been, we are friends. Eric Robinson.
We are friends.
So, as I mentioned, welcome. And as I mentioned in my introduction, and I told you before, and I told you in our pre-chat, this is the most bonkers story I have ever in my life. And this is, when we say only in America, we can underline this with a like 50,000 lines under it, because your story is amazing. So I gather that you're not in the red district in Amsterdam.
I'm in my own red district. This is my red district.
Okay, don't get me started, because this is a serious discussion. But welcome. You are a guy who was a man of the cloth, or like you were a preacher, or I don't know, because you in America there are so many levels of reverence, and then you changed to something even bigger, and that was you joined the FBI.
Yeah.
How on earth is that possible? Like, what did your parents give you when you were growing up? Like options?
Yeah, I did. So part of what I saw in the FBI was definitely that I grew up in a pretty modest home, but I had plenty of opportunities and options. So my parents stayed together. I had a close family. We had support. I went to college. So they raised me in a good place, in a strong environment, which then as I got into investigations, my eyes are opened much more from having worked in a church where pretty much everybody has similar mindset, close to the same background. And then years later, I'm working with gang members, high volume narcotics dealers, teenage prostitutes, uh, Islamic terrorists. Like, that's not what I expected to get into, but it did open my eyes as to what I was allowed to have and what other people are fighting against.
But in college, did you know that you wanted to like was faith something that you was important to you, and did you always like you went to college, and did you then go to what do you go to when you're learning to become a reverend or
Like a divinity school. So the
yeah
school I went to was actually to prepare me to be a missionary to Muslim countries, which same same master's class that Billy Graham had started. So it's at Wheaton College. It was where Billy Graham went to school. So I went there to train to be someone who took the gospel to foreign countries. And my background was in religion. I studied Islam. So I was meant to go to Muslim countries. My application was in process when 9/11 struck in the US. And I think that might have been why they took a chance on me to say, hey, we've got an Al Qaeda problem and this guy knows Muslims. And then, just as the United States government does, they took that ability and they put me in a drug squad.
but are we talking about missionary as in to convert Muslims to Christians?
Yeah, that was the intent that I had coming out of college.
Okay, I have. Okay, that maybe is a totally different discussion because why can't they just be Muslims? Like, what isn't it? Oh,
Yeah, didn't that's a valid question, and my mindset has changed a bit since then. But that was the attitude. The
ah,
mindset is, well, the gospel is correct. Jesus is the one true way to God. I am doing a service to people to tell them, here's the gospel. If you follow Jesus, then you get to go to heaven, as opposed to the Muslim faith, which won't get you to heaven. That's the belief system. So that attitude has developed since then for me, but that was what I was thinking at the time.
well, the crusade back then it didn't go well. So like, let's okay. Then we can park that discussion because that I just it's all the same for me. Like, just be whoever you are, and just you can keep your faith, and you can do whatever you do. You do. But so you got ordained to become a priest, or how do you call it? Were you a
Pastor. So
preacher,
yeah,
pastor? The other,
priests are more with
the
the high
Catholics.
church, with Catholics. I was a Baptist pastor. For a bit of background, if people aren't familiar with the Baptist Church in America, it's strict. So I grew up Lutheran, and in the Lutheran church, they have a mindset that says, well, if God was going to say this is wrong, he would have told us it's wrong in the Bible. So they're more accepting and open, like people smoking cigarettes in front of the church. No problem. Baptist church, their mindset is, well, if God didn't, it was God wanted to allow that, he would have told it was allowable in the Bible. So they're very restrictive. Don't go to movies, don't play cards, don't drink alcohol. Their theology I believed in, their doctrine, their practices were a little tough for me.
Yeah. I forgot to mention to you before we started that people can comment on our conversation. And a great friend of mine from the UK, David Pushkin, he says, hi all, looking forward to this conversation with the mayor of happiness and Eric. Loving the energy of this already. Your chief encouragement officer approves. He is a chief encouragement officer, and he is a great guy. So, like, welcome, David. And
Well,
I just have to say again, like, people come with questions because this is unbelievable. Like, I think this will blow your mind. But okay, so you were in a strict. So Baptist church is a very strict,
yeah.
like, followers of the word.
Yes. And so the positive part was they dug into the Bible more than most other denominations. Like, they want to learn it. The negative is now they impose their judgments and extracted values upon other people of what they should do. So You don't go to the movies because you might see a naked lady or see violence. So like just stay away altogether. You don't play cards because it might lead to gambling. And I think, oh, I can control myself there. The first sermon I ever preached, I got into ministry and I'm at this Baptist church. I'm the assistant pastor. The pastor would go through and he'd preach chapter by chapter. And he says to me, I'm going to be out of town in a few weeks. Can you preach for me? And I look at where my message falls. And it was my first sermon was God gives the right of circumcision to the Jewish people. That's going to be my first sermon. So in this very strict church with old people, I told my wife, I'm thinking of opening with a joke. I want to say that I'm preaching on circumcision. The message is a little long, so I cut a bit off the end. What do you think? She said, I don't think you should tell that joke. She was right.
I would have encouraged you to do that.
Any other circumstance.
That's a great opening.
But if I can't tell dick jokes in church, am I free to be myself? I say no.
Yeah, no. And that is also, why is it that you have to impose? It's just like, do we all have to be the same?
Yeah.
Then no fun. Like, what? Where is the fun in that? Not having a movies or like the bad people.
I mean, there's positives to it because they're trying to make sure people don't fall into sin. But it's a lot of hey, check out that piece of sand in your eye type situation. So it was difficult for me to adjust to. But then when I planted my own church in the late 90s, I told my congregation, so we took a small core group of people in Western New York, and I said, we're going to start a church, and if we make any mistakes, we're going to err on the side of grace. So I'm going to let God judge us for being too accepting and welcoming. And I gave them all a flinch test to say, can you welcome these people, somebody who's not dressed right for church, somebody who's got weird tattoos or piercings, gay couples, interracial couples, you smell alcohol in their breath. Can you greet them? And there's nothing on your face that shows judgment, because that's what we're going to do. And we did that. So in many ways, that established how I then would approach people in the FBI too.
By the way, David, he liked your joke because he's British. He is British, so he's in like they have a weird sense of humor. So, but okay, so you started your own congregation.
Yes, took about a dozen people who were committed, and we were meant to be a church of outreach. I didn't want to just shuffle people from another church and now they can come and pay their tithes here. I was looking to get people who had stopped going to church or just felt judged, didn't feel safe or comfortable. And I wanted to set something up that says, hey, this is, if you are curious and you just want to know about Jesus, come on in and you'll hear about him. And I'm not going to pressure you. My favorite parable that I impressed to the congregation as we tried to reach out was when Jesus says, the kingdom of heaven is like an inestimable treasure hidden in a field. A man finds it and then sells everything he has to buy the land. And I told them, look, this is a big deal. We're telling them that God is the way, and they have to give up their old ways, their old life in order to join into this. That's not a one visit thing. That's not a 2 visit thing. They need to understand and see, hey, this is a life worth living. And so we let people take their time and find out about what we were pitching at them comfortably.
Well, one thing, according to the Bible, Jesus let everybody in. He took Mary Magdalena in, and people around him condemned him because she was not as virtuous as she was supposed to be. Yeah. And he said, doesn't mind. Like, people around her love her, and she is doing a good job, or God loves her, as he would say. So that's not. But did you have any, like, and when you started this, that was way before 2001 or 9/11, wasn't it?
Yes. Yeah. 96, 95 is when I started the church.
So what prompted you? Like, what was it that was it this teaching of like, why are we leaving people out? Like, why are we pushing people away who are not fitted in this one size fits all Baptist thinking? Oh, I hope that was not.
No, that was part of it, but I was also a younger person. I didn't have my time in ministry, so I could do what I could, but it's not my place to dictate for someone else who is above me as pastor. But when this church that I was an assistant at said we want to start a new church, I said I'd love to do that. And now I got to establish ministry the way I saw fit. That we weren't going to go by these ancillary rules. We're going to stick to important things and try to build into people.
Uh, and did people come to you after like at a certain point and said, "Thank you, Eric, for being like," because the ultimate reward is that you help people in some way, or you show them there is a meaning to why you are here on earth, regardless of if you believe or not, because everybody has a role in life. That is my side. Like you, it doesn't matter. It's like when I talk to yeah, my it's difficult to have my brain when you're 29 plus with 30 years of experience and
Yeah.
curly hair. But he was an ex-soldier veteran, and I think he could have been dead like 4 or 5 times. His story was unbelievable. But I said like 80 something, and I said there must be some purpose. Either he doesn't want you, or you have you are going to save somebody at the end. Like, and I was just like, it's amazing. But there are these, like when you think about the injustice of cancer, AIDS, or whatever it is, and then children dying at the age of 5, like it's all maybe. I think about it as the universe is teaching you something.
Yeah.
There
And,
must be some learning in it.
yeah. And along the way, more so when I got into the FBI, there had to be a pensiveness or a mindfulness of what's going on and why. How is this affecting me? What's the purpose here? In the church, had more of a single minded, like, I already know the purpose. It's this, let's go. But as I got older, then there was more opportunities and experiences. And now I'm having to see something that's beyond that sheltered realm of in the church with homogeneous folks, people from a similar background, similar attitudes, to now I'm working with many different types of people. And oh, okay, this is a chance for me to start learning as I interact with gang members, teen prostitutes, all sorts of folks. It's a that was a very much a significant growing experience for me.
And it's hard because I think when you're like volunteering, did I say that correctly? When
Yeah.
you're volunteering, yeah, that you have this idea of you are, quote, going to save people, unquote. Like you are going, it depends on what is your mission. Are you going to save them, or are you going to make their life comfortable? Or like, how do you approach the assignment in this? Because is it for us to save everybody?
No, I'll tell you this. My oldest graduated from college a few years back, and one of the student speakers said, "I'm going to change the world." And I had an immediate impression, which is, no, you're not, because few people do. And depending on your definition, I mean, let's say in the past century, 25 people have changed the world. Maybe it's more or less, depending on how you define it. But there's a few handfuls of people who actually change the world. And those that do, this would be an interesting study, but I contend that those who do actually change the world have to abandon the core people that they're in charge of. So unless you're single, if you change the world, you have no value to your wife, children, or immediate family. You've left them so that you can do something bigger. And So I look at it, I think, okay, God's entrusted me with this. Hopefully I can impact a few more people. And if I can get a little bit into my community and positively impact that little bit, then I've brought a benefit. And what was a blessing to me is I got to do that in the church, left the church, got to have even broader impact in the FBI. So that was, I felt like that was a noble cause for me to be able to have twice over.
But in your as a assistant pastor in the Baptist church and then in your own church, how did you come across this Muslim? Like, why is it that, because you mentioned that there was something that FBI saw in you, but why, what was it that you, were you open for everybody? Like, did the Muslims come just to hear, to find some quietness, or
No,
how, how,
the
how did
training,
it go?
well, the training that I had was to seek out Muslims, find those who are open to discussion, and then begin a dialogue about religion. At that time, from my point of view, to teach them the truth about Jesus and to say, here's the actual path to salvation. And again, we could debate afterwards on those methods at the time, but
Uh,
that's what I was thinking. So I did have an understand of Arab cultures, how to, some of the mindset that goes in with those people, and then the tactics used to just reach out and endear yourself to them. So later in my career, I was working national security, which meant in some cases international terrorism. So I had Muslim informants, and even further now I'm getting my eyes open to their beliefs and who they are and how they live. I had one guy who was a great person and gave us great intelligence. He calls me one morning and it was Easter. And he says, "Happy Easter, Eric." And I go, "Bro, you don't believe in that." He goes, I am like, "You don't even believe Jesus died on the cross. What are you saying Happy Easter for?" And he goes, "Hey, man, how about just saying Happy Easter back?" And I go, "Okay, good point. Happy Easter."
Well,
Once you get,
don't you? I have a friend who's Jew, and he like Happy Hanukkah or whatever. Like I tell them, yeah, Happy Hanukkah. Like, but I'm not. I am just. I was Lutheran, or I'm an atheist now because I have a little bit of problems with the church. But that is my thing. But I have gone through and I live after. Like, I find the Ten Commandments, like, you can say that everybody lives after them, but they have to be. I don't go around killing people. I don't go and I'm not an adulterist. No, this is when you have a meltdown. You are not to go and take your neighbor's wife or whatever it is said. So, but and how on earth is it that then? Okay, I know that 9/11 came, but maybe before we go into that, because David Pushkin says the theme that really resonates here is around belonging and the power of positive words and having a welcoming heart. There is no greater feeling, and the power of this limitless. Of this is limitless. Well, yeah,
yeah.
isn't it? It is the sense of belonging and inviting everybody in, and not like not judgmental. I think we are way too judgmental today.
Yeah, I went from a place in evangelical Christianity where there's a common saying from scripture that you speak the truth in love. And, that is trying to tell people, hey, this is what the Bible says, and I'm doing it in a loving fashion. What I found was it wasn't true. They were speaking judgment. And the love part is, well, if you can confront your wrongness, I'm helping you do that. And that's very loving. So it was just, it really was just harshness under the guise of speaking the truth in love. And so I just love. That's better. And maybe we
Yeah,
can get to the truth together,
yeah,
which is loving. But I've given up those cliches of I'm going to couch my judgment and hatred and abuse in these ideas that are hiding in positive Christian ideas of, well, you love the sinner, but you hate the sin. And you're like, nah, that's still condemning people. Just love the sinner and stop there.
And speaking of the energy that goes into hating, like the hatred, it's just
Yeah.
like,
Where's you
oh,
do?
I would be very tired. Shout out to Christy. She is saying hello, everyone from Florida. Welcome, Christy. Lovely having you. Please, if you have any questions, just let us have them because this is so much fun when people participate in this. So, the topic was like listening for the truth. And of course, there was a lot more description on what we were going to talk about. But you have behind you have a poster that says irreverent and from saving souls to chasing sinners in the FBI. So you mentioned it before that in 9/11, the FBI they noticed that you had something, or they must have seen something in you, heard of you, or whatnot. So and you just is it recently that you quit, or is it like
January.
26 years? Was it in January? So after 24 years of service in the FBI, you have just recently quit.
Mm. Well,
And
retired. They make
but
you go. They make you go at 57. So that was coming anyway.
oh, what is wrong with people? We 29 plus, we have great knowledge.
Yeah. Suddenly I couldn't shoot a gun straight and couldn't carry myself well and didn't know how to investigate. But that's the
Well,
standard.
didn't they have a like office job for you? I know a highest ranking job at FBI. You would do great there.
Ah, no, thank you.
Okay, thank you. But okay, so you are in the midst of writing a book about your experience, but when you go from the environment as a church is, like it's a house, door opens, people come in, and you are just like welcoming them, then all of a sudden you are maybe seeking the sinners.
Yeah.
And when you like how in the beginning it must be was it hard for you in the beginning to get into this way of thinking that everybody was, because after 9/11 I know that of course we were all afraid what would happen. We didn't know what to expect, and people were really afraid and took it out on people who had like didn't even know why they were like, because in Muslim community there are, like in Christianity, like we have fragments of everything, so it's just, and not all Muslims are bad or
Right.
so how was it for you, the transition from like from God to to go. I that is the trick question, because I'm just like, did you just walk into a bar and then you had the outfit on as an FBI agent and
Well, this is the
well,
outfit of an FBI agent.
yeah,
The So I enjoyed ministry and I did well at it,
yeah.
but I found myself incapable of separating my congregants' problems from carrying those myself. So that led to stress. And that stress led to me having headaches every single day for 2 years. So there was a certain point where I said, what's my body like? I've been fighting through this for a long time. What's my body going to try to get my attention with next? It's been using headaches. Do I wake up one day and I have a stroke? So I told my wife, I got to find a job with less stress, which is why I applied to the FBI to get less stress.
Okay, this is almost like the beginning of the sermon where you had to cut the end. Like, Eric, this is the most weird sentence that you have said by far. Like the joke was good, but this, like, did you actually say it? I think I have to get a less stressful job.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. By the way, it's in the FBI.
And it was the day I got accepted. My headaches went away. So that was a cue that, okay, this is at least
Okay, yeah, yeah,
partial
yeah.
cure. But the situation, and this is where I think you'll understand, I had to bear people's problems. They came to me. It felt like,
Yeah.
much as this is self imposed, much as this is me being young and not understanding, I had to carry those, and they're never over. In the FBI, I can solve problems and move on to the next thing. I had many fewer people pointing guns at me in ministry, but I could get over that in the FBI. There were peaks of stress, and then they went away. And I had no one around me. I was a senior pastor. I did not develop a group of men that I could talk to and say, look, I'm going to share things. I need you to support me without judgment. Some of these are going to be hard. Some of these things are going to be embarrassing. I didn't have that. So I was on my own. I get into the FBI, and I'd seen more traumatic things in the Bureau, more disgusting things, hard things, but set up around me were 15, 20 people who understood. So
Yeah.
I had that group built in. They were either there and they experienced it too, or they've been there before and they know what I'm talking about and they spoke my language. So I had a support group built in, which I had needed in ministry, but I wasn't wise enough to develop. And the the great thing about the FBI too was, even though I would see terrible victimization, working crimes against children, you see terrible things. I was not expected to now carry that burden for the victims. In fact, it was inappropriate for me to do anything beyond bringing justice against the perpetrators. And so there's a built-in boundary that I didn't have in ministry, and here it's forced in the FBI. And so I could just be a good agent and go from case to case. And these things didn't wear on me and stick with me like they did in ministry.
How I have always thought that you had to be in the police or from the army to participate in the FBI. So that is just the movies.
Yeah. So I on my first squad working drug cartels, I see this guy built like Stone Cold Steve Austin, the professional wrestler. This guy's huge, shaved head, goatee. And I say, hey, what did you do before you got in the FBI? And he said, oh, I worked in a bank. So you get people, and part of that is what the FBI looks for. They look for diversity in race and nationality, gender, but what they thrive with is getting people who come from different professional backgrounds,
Yeah.
because the Bureau works long-term enterprise investigations. And so there's a lot to collaborate on and be creative with. And so when I can go to somebody who's a history teacher, they can have a perspective. A lawyer might have a perspective. Talk to the cops, talk to the military guys who used to be in. They'll bring perspective too. But that broad nature of, this guy worked in IT and this guy was a salesman, they have some experiences to bring that can assist in those long-term investigations.
I don't know why when you were talking, I just all of a sudden saw you with a gun in your hand. How was it to change from a peace loving minister or pastor or whatever, and then all of a sudden just using, because you were on the SWAT, you were a SWAT operator. I don't know, like you have mentioned so many things. You worked. I'm just looking at the introduction about yourself. It's just you worked with a range of crimes, including white collar counterterrorism, crimes against children. That must be the worst kinds,
Yep.
gangs, drugs, and public corruption. And you served as a SWAT operator, a firearms instructor, and a tactics instructor. Those, like when you count the SWAT operator, I immediately go to, oh, yeah, that's the soft skills. Like he is not on the premises.
Yeah. Those are my SWAT
But
pajamas. Those are my SWAT pajamas right there.
oh, yeah, but how was it to, like, did they change from being a person who was inviting people in? You were talking about, here you are safe, there are no guns, and then all of a sudden you step out and you have guns. Like, how did were you used to guns from your own upbringing?
Never touched one.
how was it then? Like, wow,
It
this,
was like this. I'm
you know,
skipping rounds. I was
your
terrible.
your your story is just like, that's why it's bonkers, because I am also like, I played, I think, 10 minutes. I played the PlayStation game called whatever, and I was just like going mad after 10 minutes because I think I liked it, but I was just like, no, I can't do this. So it must have been many things that you had to like mentally change.
Yes, or mentally now dig into. So there's no place for me as a pastor to get into. Like I enjoyed mixed martial arts, but
Yeah,
a pastor doesn't do that much. So like, okay, I do this on the side in jujitsu, study some films. But now I could dig into that. I enjoyed being physical. Okay, now we're learning defensive tactics, like how to wrestle somebody, how to take them down, how to disarm them. And now that's part of me that wasn't available or had any value as a pastor, but that's an interest and an ability I had that now in the FBI, oh, okay, that light gets to be turned on. So, just like anything else, there's so many aspects to
yeah,
a person, abilities and interests that you don't find out until you sit down and start learning the piano and you go, oh, I didn't know I was good at this.
yeah. But also, you probably had a what 1 year's training or something before you.
Yeah, we 4 months of training, and I got to, I would see former cops shooting, and they're okay, they're pretty good, and I'm down here. And as they're slowly getting better, now I'm increasingly getting better until we both graduate, and we're both proficient with the gun. And then later, I become even more proficient and very accurate, especially with SWAT. Now with regular firearms training, now I know I can hit a shot if I need to take it, and I see the guys next to me, and I'm a great shot, and I'm not the best on the team. So, like, boy, if I feel confident, it feels good being next to these guys who can show up even better too.
Well, I guess that is what you get from being in the army or FBI or CIA. Like, you know where the weaknesses are, and then you have another one who is better than, like,
Yeah.
you will be great with Peter because there is something that they match and they can do. But your wife, your poor wife, I'm just like, what about your wife? After
So,
you said to her, I'm still like working that through.
yeah,
Oh, honey, I'm joining the FBI.
yeah. Yeah, we had worked ministry together for a number of years. So whatever I was doing, she was doing as much or, a little bit less. So we worked ministry together. And then suddenly I'm off doing my own career. And she, as we started having children, is at home by herself. So the things we used to share, it was a little different. So we go to Chicago. I'm working drug cartels and gangs, and my wife's texting me like, let me know when you're safe, and oh, I'm so worried about you. And then I'm in the bureau for 20 years. I'm doing SWAT for 10 of those years, and I tell my wife, hey, we got an operation coming up on Tuesday. And she says, okay, I'll put that on the calendar. And I go, look, guy's kind of dangerous, actually. She says, yeah, yeah, yeah. I go, he told an informant he wouldn't be taken alive. And she says, I told you I would put it on the calendar. What else do you want? So she went, from like, oh, so nervous, and this is new to me too, to like, yeah, he comes home every day. It works out fine.
Well, I can't get rid of him anyway. But how is she did like how old are your kids, if I may ask?
Ah, why would you do that to me?
Oh, of course.
25, 22, and 19.
So, and is she is not still home, or she must has like what she must have gone out to work or like done something
Yeah,
because
raised the kids and then said, "Hey, I think I'm going to start ghostwriting for some folks because she's a writer." Did ghostwriting and then started doing some marketing. And then in 2012, she opened her own business to market authors and has been successful at that for 14 years. which is why my question to her was stupid when I was getting near retirement. I said, "What should I do?" And she, of course, said, "Write a book."
Write the book. Yeah.
What,
What kind of
what
idiot
should I
are
expect?
you?
Of course, you're going to say
But
that.
but when you like the transition also for you guys, because you have been X many years together, and then you go out and you are on these missions and everything, and you move to a new place, and from going from intimacy of being in the church, talking together about the problems at hand, opening up to people, and la la la, you must have, like, how did you redefine your marriage?
Yeah, it was. And again, part of that was being young and naive and going through experiences we hadn't before. So by the time I'd been in for a while, okay, unspoken, we both transitioned and accepted it. And yeah, your question is good. I probably did a poor job of thinking outside of myself. So here's this big FBI I've got to learn. I've got to keep up. I
Uh,
wasn't thinking that, oh yeah, my wife is also going, well, here's this big FBI. We go from talking about the Joneses in the church and the problems they're having and how we can reach them to, I can't really talk to you about,
yeah.
I can tell you some things, but there's not much I can get into.
Yeah, because we all need, like my wife, she is sadly, she has problems with her back, or yeah, and she is on invalid pension, and she couldn't have a job. And when I came home, and I was just like, oh, this happened, yap 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 yap, and she was just, because she didn't get out, she didn't meet people, and it's just difficult to, because we all need interactions with another human being.
Yep.
And as you two must have been so tight and so close in your church, that all of a sudden you go away, and you come home and say, well, if I tell you, I have to kill you.
Yeah.
Like, so that must have, well, kudos to your wife, she's still with you, so, and she pushed you to, it's a good segue to
Yeah.
talk about your book, because you say that you, like, you are okay, the book will be released when?
So it's set to be released in the fall. My wife's company, Weaving Influence Publishers, just started publishing books. So they went from marketing for a long time to like saying, "Well, heck, we can do this." Not this substantial level, but if you have written a good book, you're CEO of a small company, and you want to use this to promote, then okay, we'll do this. So I'm to be their third client in that, and that's to come out in October. So right now, still going over edits. Uh, FBI is still holding on to it to go through and make their decisions on what they think I should change or what they don't like. So that's a slow process.
Oh, can't you just have them black? Everything is black, like,
Yeah.
every file is just like, no. But okay, so because your website is, I'm just going to let it run here for people if they want to, they can sign up for a newsletter about blogs and everything. Preacher to breacher.com. Is it like, and then irreverent, like you are definitely preacher to breacher. It's just amazing
That's
name.
good.
And,
That's good.
and yeah, and why not? Why is that not the title of the book?
It was the working title for quite a long time, but then I worked with my wife. We did a title survey. That's part of how they
Yeah.
prepare these books. Put some together, and yeah, part of it was you look for if you can have a one word main title and then a subtitle, something that pops. And it just hit me once as we're going through this that I thought, oh, like let's play on the word reverend and playing on irreverent, putting those together. One of my beta readers went through the book and said, yeah, when people read the book, they'll see that fits perfectly because
Uh,
it's a story of a pastor going into the FBI, and I still had those values and principles, but I got involved in some really unholy circumstances. The things that we saw, the people that we interacted with were irreverent. They were dirty, and some of my reactions were, you know, not the
Mhm.
holiest either. But so all that together, you see what it's like to take a guy who has no place you'd think in the FBI, but gets to be a part of some very remarkable cases.
So, because you say that you will release your book, and it's a collection of the humorous, surprising, and intriguing moments from your career, and I would I be in awe when I read it, because it's just like as I say, like I will leave a comment on your book and say he must be bonkers, and that is, well, that must be a review, good enough review, because then people would read it, because your life must have been like, when you are writing this stuff down, did you ever stop and say, what the heck have I been doing?
Yeah, a- absolutely. Even when I was in the bureau, I was very competent. I was confident in what I was doing, but there were times I'd go, "This is great," like,
Yeah.
and then retiring. Now you're not doing it anymore. You sit, look back, and go, "Wow." And now when I think about my whole life, well, I started. I was a pastor. I didn't handle a gun. I became a firearms instructor because the FBI offered me that opportunity to take what I had, but develop it for this purpose. And yeah, I think if you read the book, you'll be amazed at some of the cases, but also, unlike some books that are written by FBI agents or about the FBI that are just amazing things, I think you'd read it and go, "That was cool." And also, I think I could do that too. That seems like something that I could see myself in because I wasn't special. I was just a guy.
Well, I don't know about, you are special, because that, like, you are. It sounds like you have had a like surprisingly great life. But when you were writing this, like saying, when you can up the glamour about the job, where it is horrendous,
Mhm.
as you say, you see the worst of the worst. So did you try to keep it, instead of saying, okay, when a person read this, they will not go cool, but they will say SHIT.
Well, one of my chapters in my book is how I've made men shit themselves in the course of duty. So I have an entire chapter on that.
But
It
you are
was
not, you are likable. You're like, I can't, I don't believe you.
there's a certain expected response. We had a guy who was sexually extorting young women, and he had bragged that he could never get caught. And it was a terrible situation. These women's lives were destroyed. He said, "No one can get me." A special team from headquarters working computers finds him. They see that he's an adjunct professor at a small university south of our area. So we get a team together and we go to hit him. 25, 26 years old. Clean guy, like a chess master who also likes sexually extorting women. And the team told us ahead of time he's likely going to have a kill switch on his laptop. So we need to get that away from him before he can erase details because the way that he did this was very sophisticated. So I was the breacher that day. I had the ram in my hands. We're in these like student apartments, so they're small apartments. And I told my buddy, because in the United States you need to announce the presence of
Uh,
police. It's called a knock and announce. And yet we had to get there before he hit his computer. And so I told my buddy, "You announce on my backswing." Like this is one of those occasions where police, bam,
yeah.
hitting it. So we do that. We hit. We get inside, and he's lying on his bed, sleeping on his stomach, left arm dangling off the side of the bed, and right next to him is his laptop. And so I came up to him, and this is how he woke that morning. I screwed my pistol to his forehead, and I said, "If you move from the computer, I'll kill you," which of course I can't do. But he doesn't know that. So if you can imagine waking up to that, the natural response is to evacuate your bowels, which is
Hmm.
what he did. And then one of my buddies had to interview him in the back seat of a police vehicle, unaware that he had done this and was sitting on some chocolate pancakes.
But how, like, okay, this is, but the worst of the worst. I know that this is just like, this is fun. This is humorous because you can imagine it and you can picture it and stuff. But working with like crimes against child, like you get furious when you hear
Yep.
people doing bad things to children, so sexually molestation and whatnot. Like how did your relatively soft heart as a pastor and like from your church and stuff, and then these horrors, how did you cope with them? I know
I
that you get psychology
Yeah.
sessions and or psychologists and everything, but the first time you had to deal with it, do you remember how when you engaged in these horror
Yeah.
situations?
So it's a little less than how you describe because I'm wading in that water a little bit. So if you took the pastor straight from church and said, "I'm going to expose you to this," that's going to be more shocking than, okay, I got
Yeah,
to
yeah.
up here to in the water and kind of get used to it. It's not as harsh. So that's a little bit of the factor. And then the mindset is I am going to try to bring justice. That's my job. I can't be too concerned with the children being harmed because it's not my responsibility. I've got no place for that. I've got no avenue to do anything. Oh, what can I do? I can do this. I mean, it's just like if someone in your community, falls into a need and you go, "Well, I don't have much money, but I can help repair their fence." That's the one thing that you're
Yeah.
good at. This is what I can do. I can go after this guy who's been harming people, harming kids, and I can try to bring justice. And because that was my mindset, then when I went in to talk to these despicable people, go back to the church. No judgment. Like they're telling me disgusting things, horrible things, and I would just have a discussion, which was then disarming because I didn't have to tell them they're disgusting. I didn't have to bring shame to them because they already had that. They already knew this day was going to come and they feel the worst feeling, but they keep going back to it anyway. So when I come and I'm just talking with them, building rapport, and then trying to pull a thread of connection. So as when one man I talked to, mid 30s, had assaulted a 13-year-old boy who looked actually 10, and he tells me that he loved the boy, which was not love, but that's the feeling that he had.
Mm.
I can identify with that. I can identify with what it's like to love someone. So I'm gonna use that because otherwise he's sick. But that doesn't help for me to say you're a sick monster. It helps for me to say, how can I connect with you? Give me something where we can have a conversation, we can talk. And so now I'm bringing that out. And as I bring that out more, as he talked about how he loved the boy, he's giving me information that's going to damn him.
Mm. Yeah.
And
But
that's the
how?
best that we can do.
Yeah, because time flies when you're having fun, and we have 5 minutes left. So when you had these encounters, okay, any encounters, not only crimes against kids, how difficult was it sometimes for you to go home and leave it outside? Because when you hear stuff, the bad stuff, you immediately want to take your kids because your primary role as a father, as a parent, is what? You want to keep them safe. And like, I don't know if you remember when you got the first one, that like when we got, me and my wife, we got our kids, twins. It was just like, I think for the first month we sat by their bed and we're just like, we made those, like we made those, like, unbelievable that we are capable of create another human being, and we want to do the best, and we will guard them, and we will, and when they get 18 or whatever, then you have to, like, okay, bye bye. You have your life now. So like when you came home and saw your kids at the age of 5, 8, 12, or whatever, like, how did you stand outside the door and said, and walked in, or?
So the way that I think most agents deal with those traumatic experiences, significant or minor, but still traumatic, is to talk about it and often joke about it. So you disarm the devil by mocking him. So here we are in, like, we would tell literal survivor stories of times where somebody could have gotten killed. I'm talking literally. We've
Yeah.
joked about that, but no one did. So isn't that hilarious? And so we mock the devil in that way. We mock the danger. And if I go through my life experiencing these traumas, getting mud splattered on me, and I never look down to brush that off, it's going to cake pretty hard. But as I said when we started, I had that group of people around me who got it. They
Yeah.
were there, and
Yeah.
we're not like holding on to each other and sobbing. We're talking about it, just the experience. Just,
Mhm.
it's not a confession. It's not therapy, but we're discussing it. And so getting it out into reality keeps it from just getting, unobserved on the inside. So having those times, we would have after action reviews whenever we have an operation, whenever we're going to somewhere dangerous, we've done some type of police work, we sit down afterwards and we talk about what do we do right, wrong, what do we keep, what could have gone wrong. And that's then also that opportunity for people to just have a discourse about what they went through. And we may have a deeper talk later if it was something hard. I'll pick somebody up and we'll talk about it in a more significant level. But there's always programmed right there that chance to just bring it out into the open and have that chance to say, this is what I experienced.
I think also by, like, laughing and stuff, it's some kind of a survival mechanism, just to, yes, get it out of your system.
Mhm.
This is not my normal stuff. This is something like weird, or like, and then you just keep on because your life is your 3 kids, your wife. Duh, duh, duh. So I just want to, final question is, you say that, like, in your introduction, with a background as a pastor and years of experience in human, HUMINT.
Yeah, it sounds cool. It's human intelligence. It's recruiting informants.
Oh, I thought it was like something exceptionally exciting. I thought it would be Eric Robinson 2.0.
That's why I say human. 'Cause people are like, "Ooh, wow." And you're like, "No, that's me sitting down in a restaurant talking to an Arab guy and saying, did you meet with your uncle this week, and what does he have to say?"
Yes, but I think that, like, I was just also thinking about listening for the truth, and as you were saying, like, what are you hearing when you're talking to the bad people, and what are they saying, and then you can do, because you are attentive listening to the person. So I think we covered it, but for me, it's just like, you are the most amazing person. I think, no, one of.
I'll
No,
take
they
one
are
up.
all. Yeah, you're one of. Like, I give you that. But so your people can, like, they can sign up for your newsletter, to your blog and information on preacher2preacher.com. and maybe you will change that in a like, but then you will be redirected and stuff. And your book will be published hopefully in the fall. That
Yes.
means in what, in a month? Or
I,
is the
October.
fall September, October, November, December? Or
October is when we're shooting for. However, I have right now what's referred to by me as a too many girlfriend problem, because we have a traditional publisher looking at it who says, "Oh, this looks really good. Let's see what we can do," which would mean more traction. And then he's talking about television series. So I like, so if that happens, definitely go to the website. You'll hear more details, but it could push things back a bit. Right now, we're on
ooh,
track for October.
I can hear that I will be on the red carpet
Yes.
sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. Because we're friends. Because we're friends.
Yes, yes, and I would like say, "Ooh, and who is that?" And he is the evil man from Iceland. No, I'm very nice. So, and people can find you on LinkedIn and Instagram, as I gather,
Yes.
and you will answer them,
Oh,
like
absolutely.
talk
I
to them.
I think I've talked to a dozen college age kids who match with me on LinkedIn and say, "Hey, can you tell me about the FBI?" I'm like, "Shoot it. Let's go. Whatever you need to know."
So you are an open book.
Yes. To be
So, but
honest.
this is just has been yet another amazing conversation, because it is just unbelievable how I'm so happy that we met. It was on Podmets, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, and it's unbelievable that you reached out to me, because, and as I mentioned, I think in the pre-chat, like this is just you are. I think I used the name bonkers again. Like I was just like blown away. I walked to my wife and said, "You won't believe who I was talking to right now." He is just like, that was just awesome. But I just have to say, before I thank you, I want to say that next Thursday will be the last for like, because after the 30th of July, I'm going to take 14 days off. But the next conversation after that is on 13th of August, and that will be a great session again. But next inspiring conversation is with Justin Robbins on Thursday, 30th of July. And then we are going to talk about when values become work. And that is a quite hard, big topic. But Eric, thank you for giving me this hour of your life. I think I could talk to you for several hours if I could, but
Yeah.
then we would be tiresome. I will definitely get your book. Are you going to read it as well on, like, so it's been on Audible and everything? Audible.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm going to read it, and then I can't. Which is again, my wife's company would have that going, and then I told her, "Hey, how about this?" So I'm going to read my book, and here's cases, investigations I've been a part of. What if I get a hold of another agent who was part of that too? Say, "Hey, give me 4 minutes of your take on that case, and add that to the audiobook too." And then I drove past one of our federal correctional institutes, and I thought, I've got a couple guys in there. I wonder if I can get them to tell their
No,
side. Like, just,
that would be awesome.
yeah, it would. So one of them is a guy who was a terrorist who tried to kill his judge. And that's one of the significant stories that I have in my book. And I thought, he's already in prison. Like, it doesn't hurt him to say, yeah, this is what I was thinking.
Do you
That,
remember me? I am writing a book.
oh, he remembered. He told me I had a magnificent beard.
Well, that is always something, and you have. But as always, like, it has been amazing, and give your wife a hug, because kudos to your wife. I'm just like, oh, honey, I'm joining the FBI.
By the way,
But as always, this has been a fantastic session. So thank you very much. And to all of you out there, in the same time, as like, you never know who you encounter. So be curious, be interested, be inspired, and be audacious, and just go out there and do stuff, because this is great. Thank you very much, Eric.